gonna go ahead and take off my mask because I'm standing right here all by myself. First thing I want to say, as we all gather around virtually for the launch of the Food Society, is that we're being super aware of COVID. Anybody who is in the room here is wearing a mask. We have to have folks here to help us serve some things and make some things for you all to enjoy and seeing, and we hope making at home. And so we're being super cautious, and we want you to know that. We'll take off our masks when we're here cooking and working isolated from other folks who are in the room. So don't want to cause any concern there. Our story actually begins with COVID and with the pandemic and what it did to the restaurant industry and the food community and all the people who are so passionately careful and welcoming into their restaurants and in their kitchens, and sharing what they know how to grow and make and eat and nourish all of us. And my dear friend Walker Brown was one of those people who was impacted by that. And that was really pretty emotional for all of us who have followed Walker and his wonderful career through the Atlanta food scene and elsewhere. So he and I made an aviation and sat down and decided that necessity was probably indeed going to be the mother of invention, and that we couldn't just sit on the sidelines. We needed to create something new, even in the middle of a pandemic, that would be in service to chefs and growers and cheese makers and creameries and canners and artisan butchers, anybody who is part of food culture. We depend on these folks. They bring us together and they let us tell our stories to each other in their restaurants and in their homes. They take us through their gardens and they share their lives and their passions with us. And they're under a lot of threat. We're gonna lose not just friends and family in this really difficult year, but we're gonna lose the places that we have made community in, where we have formed friendships, and where we go to be welcomed and comforted. And we decided that that couldn't happen, that we needed to find a way to bring everything that food culture means to all of us into a new era. And so Walker and I started dreaming up, and he said to me, "Hey Patrick, I know you've done some other interesting projects. Brainstorm with me." And we started dreaming and coming up with ideas that seemed pretty impossible. And we didn't lose faith that there was going to be an answer. And as we kept dreaming and thinking and realizing that chefs don't just work in kitchens, they have a knowledge base, they have skills, they have insights into humanity and what we really need and want that brings us together. And so we said, what if we said the food society that exists out there in the real world could also exist online? And so Walker said to me, "I know this great guy, Chris Atwood, and he's thinking some similar thoughts and doing some similar things." So the three of us got together and dreamed up a plan. We went from concept to how to make it real. And over the last several months, we've been working really, really hard to get to tonight. The foodsociety.community is live. We hope you'll visit it. We hope you'll support it and support all of the chefs that it is meant to serve. We're starting with just Chef Walker and Chef Chris, but it's really meant to be a platform for all kinds of foodies and chefs and growers and makers everywhere to share their knowledge, and yes, to be paid for that, because they're really valuable members of our communities and of our culture. Tonight is a different kind of celebration than we might have expected. It's really casual. Nothing tonight is scripted. In fact, I forgot to introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. My name is Patrick Davis, and I'm really kind of the silent partner here. And Chef Walker and Chef Chris are really the inspiration for all of this. And it's been a real honor to support them and help them navigate this into reality. So I want you to feel welcomed into my home. I want you to feel comfortable and casual and enjoy it, and send us comments, and we'll do our very best to respond amidst cooking and all of that. This should be just like gathering around anybody else's kitchen, table, or stove, and enjoying what happens when we all come together around food. That really is the objective of the entire thing. So we may mess up, we may be sloppy, we may break an egg or two, but that's real food. That's how it goes. And we think there's a real opportunity for chefs that are a little more relaxed, food that's a little more approachable, and people that feel more confident and comfortable in a kitchen. So we welcome you to the Food Society, and we're so thankful that you're here with us tonight. It is a real pleasure to get the heck away from this camera, which is not what I'm made for or built for in life, and welcome Chef Walker Brown and Chef Chris Atwood. Thanks so much.
Welcome everyone, my name is Chris Atwood. I am utterly delighted to be here with you all, gathering together digitally around this banquet of flavors. Humbled and delighted to see all this hard work and simmering and stirring and stewing of ideas coming to fruition, and delighted to be here with Walker and Patrick. So for those of you who don't know me, I have been teaching for the past 20 years. I started out as a 5th grade teacher in the South Bronx. I was a college professor in a few different states, from the West Coast all the way to here in Atlanta, and I have been teaching cooking classes for the past 7 years. A lot of the inspiration for my cooking comes from the time that I spent in Italy. I spent 2 years living in Italy, in Florence, Rome, and Bologna, and I learned from some of the best cooks there, aka the mothers and grandmothers and grandfathers of the country. One of the things I love about Italian food culture, and that's really the inspiration behind one of the ideas here, if you ever have the chance to go to Italy, you'll immediately notice that food and socializing are connected, that people gather together, they share in meals, they cook together, they share their favorite cheesemakers, they bring you to their mother's kitchen and say, you need to try mom's pizza, or you need to try this lasagna sauce. And that's sort of the idea behind what we're doing today. We're creating a space where people can gather together, to connect with friends, to connect with colleagues, to connect with loved ones even when we can't see each other. We can still enjoy a banquet together, learn and grow and share together. So I am utterly delighted to be here for the launch of the Food Society community. We have lots of recipes and videos and gorgeous pictures that mainly Walker has taken of his lovely treats. So tonight we're here to toast the launch of this and to share with you some of our favorite tidbits and tasty bits that you can make in your own kitchen and hopefully make food a little bit more friendly and approachable and not scary. We want food to be something that is not just limited to chefs, but is about growers and makers. And all of us are nourished by food, but it does more than fill our bellies. It actually connects us together. It translates across languages, translates across cultures, and that cross-pollination is exactly what we're all about. So without further ado, and me blabbing here, I'm gonna pass the mic over here to my friend Walker.
Thank you, Chris. So welcome to the Food Society community. I'm very excited to be here tonight with Chris and Patrick. I have been a chef in Atlanta, on the Atlanta food scene for over 25 years, and I've worked for a lot of great restaurants, some of the best I think, a lot of great people, made a lot of great food, met a lot of great customers, and it's been a real trip, but it is time to do something new. So here I am tonight, thanks to Patrick and I's conversation that day. Like you said, we had a drink on the porch and we discussed so many different things, and this is what we've come up with. It's been a real pleasure to get to this point. So I should probably tell you a little bit more about me. I've definitely been cooking in the South all this time, so I know a lot about Southern food, but really one of my favorite things about the South is the long growing season. And in that long growing season, we just are able to have so much seasonal and local produce, and that's truly what inspires me. I don't just say, oh, I'm going to make this today. I actually look at what's available, and that's what gets me going, and that's what the dish is going to be about in general. I'm also known to be somewhat of a good dinner party thrower. I've heard from my friends, since that's one of my favorite things to do is to throw a dinner party, the salon. Have my friends over, make them feel important, make the place pretty, make it smell good, serve great food, have great drinks, and just get people to come together around a table and have a community of sorts. It's really my favorite thing to do. All of it is fun, but that is my favorite. So we're at a little party tonight. It's not your normal party, it's virtual. So in general, we have a few people standing off in the distance watching. So we're gonna go ahead and make some things. The theme tonight is actually toast for toast, you might have noticed. And that means that we're gonna lead up to a toast to celebrate these new beginnings. But we're going to start with a punch. We're also going to do several different bruschetta style toasts that we have laid out here for you. I'm going to demonstrate one. Chris is going to demonstrate one, and then I'm going to demonstrate a blood orange spritz cocktail towards the end. So stay tuned for that. So we'll start with the drinks. Anyway, real quick though, before I go on to the drinks, let's go over this. I have a what I like to call a stovetop potpourri here. So one of the things I like to do when I'm throwing a party is to get the place really smelling good. One of the simple ways to do that, to really get your house smelling amazing, is to just simply get some water going on the stove, get it simmering, and add some of the things you have in your home. So like tonight I have some oranges and lemons. I have eucalyptus, pink peppercorn, star anise, fennel seed, and some other things. So basically things that you have around your house, or you can buy something. You can buy, the eucalyptus is bought. You can use cedar from outside, just all different things. But so this you can actually find more about on the foodsociety.community. I've done a video about this, and I've shared several different combinations of flavors that can inspire you. You can make whatever you want, but anyway, I think everybody
smells really yummy.
Everybody in here can smell it when they walk in the door. So that's one of those things when you get a party going. If the place is already smelling good when people walk in, they're going to be enticed and excited and happy to be there from the very beginning. So something else that is smelling good right now is this punch that I'm making. So basically, this is a poached pear and vanilla bean punch. This is a great holiday punch. It's great for New Year's Eve if you're wanting to make something. This is also going to be on the foodsociety.community. The recipe's there. And this is what I simply do is take 3 pears and I cut them in half and I poach them in a bottle of port wine. I also add sliced oranges, bay leaves, and some baking spices such as star anise and allspice and clove. And then you bring it up to a boil and you let it simmer for about a half an hour. And then you're going to let it cool down. This one's actually already cool, so we can go ahead and use it. But at this point, if you're making it at home, you could refrigerate this overnight and be ready for your party. One of the great reasons to use a punch actually is because when everybody comes into your home, when you're throwing a party and you're in the kitchen doing things and everybody just kind of congregates and loads into the kitchen, and it's hard to do what you're doing. So one of those things you can do is to put a punch on somewhere else in the house, and you can get people to congregate in another area. That's one of the reasons I do it. There's all kinds of things you can do to get people to move to different areas of your house when you're throwing a party, but this is definitely one of them. The other reason to do it is because it simply just tastes great. So this is not hot at this point, so all you do is you take this and you don't actually strain it. All the pears and oranges and things are in that. I don't know, Jason, if you can get a good look at that. You're just going to pour all of that into the punch bowl, like so. Be careful of splashing there. Oh, we got some more in there. All right, and then we're going to add a few ingredients. So what I have here is about 9 cups of ginger beer. So you just pour that in. And if Chris, if you could give me some ice for this, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Just pour that in, and then I've got, this is the good stuff, about a half a bottle of some aged rum. So about 3 cups. Give me one sec. Wait. And I'm just kind of eyeing it here. Go ahead with the ice. Okay. Go ahead and pour a little bit more to get it cold. And all these ingredients, some of the other ingredients are cold too. So, and then I'm going to put 2 bottles of prosecco. That's really what makes it. So these ingredients that I have over here is just a really good base for a punch. And then you can add whatever you want. In this case, we're adding the poached pear liquid. And then I just have some, like 1 pear over here sliced, that looks it's nice and fresh, and some other orange slices, and just a few herbs. I just throw that on top, and that's it. So we have our glasses here. You just throw in your ladle, and it's ready to go. So I'm gonna have a little bit. All right, so poached pear and vanilla bean punch. I did mention that I did put vanilla bean in there as well, and that's really what makes it a great punch. It's really good for the holidays. So, yeah. Yeah, that's good. And you guys feel free to grab some of those and take them outside and drink them with your mask off. And then, so we're going to move to the toast. So Chris actually here is going to demonstrate our first toast. Take it away.
Thank you. Grazie mille, Walker. So, super excited to be sharing with you one of my very favorite things about Italian food, which is the carbs that come along with it, whether that's pasta, pizza, or bread. And so, one of my favorite toasts to make, sometimes called crostini, sometimes called bruschetta, is a roasted grape crostini. So crostini are basically giant croutons. They're big hunks of bread that we douse in olive oil, and you can find the recipe for this and for Walker's punch and everything else we're doing at the foodsociety.community. We have an entire recipe section and some video tutorials there for you. So we're going to start with the crostini. So first up, we need to get our slices of bread. So I have some rustic whole wheat sourdough here. You can use any sort of rustic bread that you like, sourdough, French, Levain, ciabatta, you name it. And to turn these into crostini, we have to kind of dry them out a little bit and toast them until they're that perfect golden brown. So to get that golden brown and not just have toast, I'm going to drizzle olive oil over these. So since I specialize in Italian food, we're going to use a lot of olive oil. If you ever go to Italy, you will see that olive oil is in everything. So I'm just going to kind of glaze these in the olive oil until there's a bit on top and a bit below. And what happens is the oil will soak in. That's going to turn golden brown in the oven. So I'm just going to lay these over here on a tray. And first up, we're just going to make these toasts in the oven. So if Walker could pop these in the oven, that would be fantastic. And these are going to cook in the oven at 425 for about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on how moist your bread is. So keep an eye on the smell. It will smell nice and toasty. And if you could just pop these in the oven so we could get these going. But it's super easy. And the great thing about this is you can use stale bread too. So you can repurpose a loaf of bread even after it's gone past the point you want to. So we're going to be roasting grapes. That probably sounds a little funny to you. I think a lot of us are used to seeing grapes like this, where you have grapes in the vine or you just noshing it as a cold snack. When they are roasted, as you can see here, they completely transform. So they almost turn as if they're grapes that are left to wither on the vine. So they're going to sweeten and condense. They get a little wrinkled on top. They sweeten the juices on the inside. Some of them might even burst open and add some pan juice to this. So I like this because it really transforms the flavor. Instead of just a sweet, juicy thing, we have grapes that are going to transform. So I'm going to take my grapes here, place them in a baking dish, And you can keep them on the stem. This is a really easy set it and forget it kind of preparation here. We're gonna drizzle some olive oil over this, just a light glaze, less than a teaspoon even, and this will just help them to brown up a little bit in the oven. Sprinkle a little salt in this, about a half a teaspoon or so. Some black pepper, just to add a little kick to it. And pepper and grapes probably sounds weird, but I promise, trust me, this is going to be absolutely delicious. And then, since we're making these with grapes, I'm also going to use some wine and some balsamic vinegar. So I have a bit of Marsala wine here, so I'm going to do about 1/3 of a cup of Marsala wine in the bottom here. You could also use red wine or white wine. Really, it's to get that kind of tart, tangy flavor that comes from wine added in. And balsamic vinegar, about a tablespoon. Balsamic is made from boiled down grape juice, so this is going to add some kind of smokiness. It's in oak casks, a little of that syrupy, grapey sweetness. So this is the good stuff from Italy here. So we're going to do a drizzle and mix that around. And I like also to add a little bit of herbaceousness to this, a little bit of extra flavor. So I'm just going to take some rosemary still on the stem, pop it in here, and just shuffle it around. And these are good to go in the oven. So this is, again, part 2 of this is make it in the oven, and they can cook at the same time as the crostini. So you can find the recipe for this in the Food Society community. When they're done, this is before, and this is after. So you see that they're going to be wrinkled and juicy, and the pan sauce will drizzle. So I'm going to show you how we assemble these once I pop these into the oven. So just give me a second to pop these in the oven here. And I have some of these toasts that have been pre-made here. So basically we're going to assemble these together. So I have my olive oil toasts, otherwise known as crostini, and we have the grapes here. And I'm going to make an herbed ricotta mixture. So basically we're going to do a schmear on top for that. So I'm going to chop up some fresh herbs here. You can do a variety of herbs for this. I've got some flat leaf parsley here. I have some, this is mint from the garden, so I'm going to do a little bit of mint. If you had tarragon or rosemary, other herbs like that, so I'm going to throw in some rosemary here. And I'm just going to do a quick little rough chop on these to get these going. So this is rustic farm food. We don't need it to be super fancy. I can just do a quick little rough chop on all these flavors. And this is going to be mixed together with whole milk ricotta. Ricotta is one of those ingredients that's really creamy and light, and can make your dishes extra tasty without adding a lot of extra fat to it. So I'm just going to mix in my herbs here. And the only other thing I have to do to this is add in a little pinch of salt and a little pinch of pepper for seasoning. So you want to chop up your herbs. It's going to look a little bit like a scallion cream cheese when you're done here. So I'm going to do a little salt just for seasoning, a little black pepper on this. This is about a cup of ricotta that I have in here. And I'm going to then assemble. So we're going to take a toast. Here's my toast. I'm going to do my layer of schmear on top. So you'll see a nice sort of creamy layer of ricotta here with some of those bright green herbs in it. And we're going to pluck some of these grapes right off the stem here, put them on top. And when this is done, you can just take a little bit of the pan drizzle here and kind of pour it on top. I don't have a plate underneath this right now, so I'm not going to do that. But typically when I serve these, all of that wine and juices and balsamic condenses down into deliciousness, and we're going to do a nice little drizzle. So in about 20 minutes, you can have a gorgeous looking crostini that will impress all of your family and friends. I can guarantee you that very few of them will have tried a roasted grape before, and it really transforms it. So be sure to check out the recipes on our website, thefoodsociety.community, where we have this and the other crostini and tapas and bruschetta that we're making this evening.
So what were the herbs you put in there?
So I have here a mix of flat leaf parsley, mint, and rosemary. So mint, you might think, why mint? That's weird, that tastes like toothpaste. Mint has a really brightness to it, so it kind of lightens up the sweetness of the grapes. The parsley is going to add sort of that green lemoniness, and the rosemary is just really aromatic. So you can mix and match around with different herbs that are sort of seasonal and available, but I generally like that kind of trio as a nice kind of Italian blend here.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I've never tried the roasted grapes like that, so I'm going to try this one. Okay, so I'm going to make another toast that we're doing tonight. This is going to be a white bean spread, and we're going to do that with some rosemary oil, and then at the end we can either add some black and green olive tapenade or some prosciutto. So this is pretty easy. You basically just take your canned white beans or cannellini, I can't say it. Let me read it.
Cannellini.
Cannellini. Yeah, he says it better in Italian. But cannellini. Anyway, fragile now. Anyway, so yeah, all we're gonna do is I basically have 2 cans that I've drained off the liquid here and rinsed. And I'm just gonna put this in a food processor with a fitted with a steel blade. I'm also gonna add a half a cup of grated Parmesan. You can use pecorino or any type of hard cheese like that, Italian hard cheese like Parmesan. I'm gonna put some roasted garlic in. I've got some here already. These are small, so I've got about 5 or 6, but you know, if they're large, 2 or 3 are great. It's not specific there. Also, I'm gonna put in about a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And I also have, I'm just gonna do it with my hand here, a teaspoon of kosher salt. Also, I'm gonna put just a little extra virgin olive oil in there to get it moving if possible. You know what, I'm just gonna take this off. What was Patrick saying earlier about things aren't perfect? Here we are. The little top I have in there didn't work. So I'm gonna put about a 1/4 cup of olive oil in there as well.
And this is extra virgin herbs, right?
This is extra virgin here, yes. And I've actually, what I've done is I've made some rosemary oil first with just some rosemary, just cut into rough chop and in a pan with some extra virgin olive oil. I brought that to basically up to a boil, and then turn it off and let it sit for a few minutes, and you get that rosemary flavor. Again, all this will be on the foodsociety.community. You can find that there, along with other videos and things that we're doing. So all I'm going to do is get this on here right first. Is you can start by pulsing a little bit, and then you just want to puree. When you pulse with a food processor like this, you're actually kind of just getting it going a little bit first. And if you feel like it's not mixing real well, you can just keep pulsing like that. If you need to, you can use a spatula to scrape it down a few times. But this is super simple. I just put like 5 ingredients in there, puree it in a food processor, and it's ready to go. So I'm just going to put that in a bowl here. It smells really good. All right, that should be good. And we are going to move over here where I already have some ciabatta. So just the way Chris toasted his bread, I've done this with ciabatta. It's just sliced very thin and toasted in the oven, and it's just great. So all you're going to do is take a little bit of this, just like he did with his, and add the white bean puree. And you can also add, what I've made here ahead of time is some green olive and black olive tapenade. You could just put a little bit of that on there. You could throw a little bit of parsley just to make it taste fresh. And then I'm going to drizzle it with that rosemary oil. It looks great. It's simple. Really great for, just before dinner or a cocktail party. And the other thing you can do is a little bit different style. And you could put all 3 of these things on if you want. Is to put a little bit of prosciutto on there. I think most people love that. This is one of those things that can be very rustic. It does not have to have a perfect look to it. So, that, a piece of parsley, the rosemary oil, and you're good to go. So, actually, we do have some people here going to help us out a little bit. So, let's see, Jason is going to help us out. Jason is going to help us out here and just kind of finish some of these up for me. If you could just come over here and you're just welcome to follow what I did there. All I did was, the way it looks is add the spread. This is Jason, everybody, a good friend of mine. Just add this stir like that. And add either or all 3 if you like. So make a few of those, get them ready for some other people that are here, and we'll take them outside where people can get your toast dog and where other people can eat them.
That's my favorite.
And you'll just continue doing that. I'm going to show you a couple. We have a few others here. We'll see if we can get to all of them. Actually, Rebecca is a great friend of mine that I've worked with before, one of my favorite people to work with. Here what I have is one of my favorites. This is actually a butternut squash puree, and then we top it with goat cheese, toasted pepitas or pumpkin seeds. And then we put some fennel pollen and fried sage. So this is getting a little fancy here. To make this puree, we just boil, we peel and cut up the butternut squash, about 1-inch pieces, and we boil that until it's soft. And then you add seasoning and spices. All this, again, like we keep saying, is on the Food Society.community. So please look up this recipe. This is a really fun thing to do before a party or at a party as well. But what's great about this is it really kind of likens itself to a pumpkin roulade, if anybody's had one of those, where you make that pumpkin sponge cake with the cream inside. It really tastes like that. So all I'm doing, Rebecca, is taking the puree and the goat cheese and then some pumpkin seeds. I'm adding a piece of fried sage, which is not only delicious but pretty. And the sage you just do by sauteing in a little hot olive oil for about 30 seconds. And you pull it out, put it on a napkin, and salt it. And then this is fennel pollen. A little tip to the Food Society, because one of our things we like to say is we're going to cross-pollinate with other chefs in the world and in the community, the food community, or the culinary community, I should say. So, Rebecca, do you got that? Or I'm going to let her continue with those. Over here, I have an artichoke and Parmesan. This one's very simple, a little more simple than that one. So all I do is take some artichoke hearts, and I strain them, and I puree them in a food processor fitted with a steel blade. I add some mayonnaise, some shaved Parmesan, salt, pepper, and some parsley, and that's really it. You want to get it to basically kind of almost like a slaw consistency, and then you're just going to put it on. What I have here is some baguette. This is toasted baguette, done the same way Chris did, and I'm just going to add some Parmesan on top, and maybe a little oregano there, since it just happens to be here. And that's ready to go. So you can see these toasts are really a great way to do things, to start a party, because it's not hard to do. And it's fun. You know, you can do so many different flavors. If anybody wants to come here and work on this one, you're welcome to. And then we're going to start taking these out to the table outside. And you guys can enjoy those. And we're just going to mingle for a little bit, have some punch. And if there's some ready up here and you want to take them out, feel free. Phil is washing his hands. What we have here is a kale and walnut pesto, and we have roasted cherry tomatoes. And this is going to go on a whole grain, whole wheat. Again, you're just spreading the mixture on and adding some. It's all very rustic. Simple. At this point, you could add cheese if you want to. If you don't want to, it's fine. So there we go. We have several of our toasts right here going, and I'm just going to show some people how to make some others. But please go to the Food Society.community to find all these recipes and many, many more. And we're going to be doing more as we go, plus videos, plus cocktails. And as we do this and enjoy our little celebration, please stay tuned. I'm going to make a blood orange spritz cocktail in about 10 minutes, so please stay tuned for that. The demonstration.
This is the finished product here of the roasted grapes here. You noticed I drizzled a little bit of that pan juice on top. One of my favorite things that food does is food flavors kind of cross-pollinate together on their own. So we have the wine that is kind of reduced down in the pan, the balsamic that already is made from grape juice, and the roasted grapes on top. So you get that kind of trio of grapiness on top, and just a little drizzle for that added touch on top.
Let me get some on some plates and start taking notes about that. They look perfect. They're really pretty easy, right? And I don't know when. I think everybody's gonna love this butternut one. It really is.
I am so
It's
excited
like
about that.
it's like dessert. it's a really
Roasted
fun.
butternut is my one of my favorite flavors. It's just fall and homey and warm.
I agree. So anybody who wants to go out and try some of these and grab some punch, feel free. And you guys, we're just doing stuff now. You're welcome to talk and have fun. don't feel like you have to be quiet. That's fine.
Well, okay.
There's a little dead air here.
Is this a race? Are we on production? Or?
No, the race. Those are so beautiful.
No, it's a party. Everybody's
It's a
all the people that are out there and joining in.
That's a reality TV stuff.
Oh, well, that much is good.
Only if someone yells at
Can you
us.
bring it back?
Dangerous.
Oh,
It tastes like dessert.
I love it. It's one of my favorite
I'm gonna make some of these tomato ones here.
That's all that.
Oven roasted tomatoes and kale pesto on top.
Doing a great job, Tracy.
So you know what I'd normally be doing this time of year?
So one of the fun things I like about these toasts is that they're interactive. Everyone can kind of serve themselves and make their own and mix and match here. So it is not one size fits all. You can pick the different toasts that you like, the different flavors that you like. Kind of add some combos here. You can pre-prep a lot of this and just make it an interactive evening, or you can just have this all by yourself. So I like to put a smear of the roasted tomato down and then some of that pesto on top. If you want it the other way around, you can do pesto first and tomatoes on top.
I'm just smearing my way through.
I'm gonna say it's all toast. I might come and steal one of these.
Yes, it is. I'll get the Furby one.
I already did this one, but I'm gonna get another one soon.
Okay.
This will not be my only one, trust
I've got a process.
There are many toasts, so dig in.
Alright, Walker's gonna teach me how to make this one. Alright, how do we start?
Just take them off the table. Just on board.
So this one is a pear cheddar. So again,
Yeah,
it's on all the recipes online. And what we're gonna do is put some ricotta on the toast, and then just a little pear chutney, which has some great Asian spices in there, and then a little cardamom pistachio. Mix several of those, put them on a plate.
Let's do it. Tell me what, okay, I actually don't know what cardamom is. I hear it all the time, and I have actually no clue what
Well,
it is.
it's an exotic island spice. It's a pod of some sort, and it just has one of the main flavors in chai tea. So if you have chai tea, you kind of get that interesting flavor. That's what that is. And there's several other things, obviously, in chai tea, but yeah, it's good stuff.
I like
It's
it.
one of my favorite flavors.
And chutney is usually using
use
like
fruit.
Indian spices.
Yeah,
if I'm
exactly.
Not wrong.
Many times it's going to be that. It's going to be that flavor profile, and it's fruit and onions cooked down with island spices, and it can be a little spicy too, which is great.
Yeah, I love it.
Enjoy. I'm going to get started on some over here, but y'all continue.
So, can you tell me what this one over here is? This is a cranberry relish.
Oh yeah, so that is a great thing to do with leftover cranberry sauce. So if
Which
you
we
make,
all have after Thanksgiving.
we all do. I mean, you always make about 5 cups of that stuff, and you eat about 3 cups of it. So if you want something to do with leftover cranberry relish, especially homemade relish, and this is a really good one, that spirited cranberry sauce. You can just put that, and this one is actually a whole wheat toast.
So what goes into the relish? So where I come from, this is called cranberry sauce.
Right.
Cranberry relish is another way to say the same thing, but
Yeah,
it's
it's actually-
spirited because it's a little boozy, right? There's a little grown-up twist on this.
Exactly, it has some port wine and orange liqueur in there. And you add the orange liqueur at the end, and it really pops. You can really taste that.
And we get some funkiness from the blue cheese.
Yeah, and then we add some blue cheese to it. So it's just very simple. This the cranberry, whatever you have left over, you use. In this case, we're using the spirited cranberry sauce and some blue cheese. Any kind of blue cheese will work. And we did some whole wheat toast. So
Yeah, and all of the recipes for these, if you want to throw yourself a toast party for New Year's, perhaps, for you and whoever you're spending time with these days, you can find these recipes on the foodsociety.community. We have all sorts of different breads, as you can see here. So this is a rustic whole grain with some seeds in it. We have a pumpernickel olive oil toast, a baguette, there's a sourdough toast. So you can also get creative with the actual breads you're making the toasts with, because different flavors come from different things, different textures. So these are kind of rustic and rough around the edges, so we used a more rustic bread. If you want something a little more elegant, you can use maybe a baguette or something like that. So different breads will just add little tastes and textures to it, and you can really get kind of playful and creative with these. Mix and match, combine, cross-pollinate, try different pestos with different toppings, and these are just some suggestions, but they are by no means all that you can do with bruschetta, crostini, and toasts.
Can I grab one of those on your way out?
Yes, you can. Red was so pretty.
Oh my god, I'm so good. No, we can get that.
all right, Jason. So I'm going to demo. If anybody wants to watch this, I want to demo how to make the blood orange spritz cocktail. This is also a really great holiday thing to do. Great for New Year's Eve because it has the prosecco in there, the bubbly. What I'm doing first is just adding a little ice to the coupe. I'm using a coupe, and just get that in the glass, moving it a little bit, so that you're actually chilling the glass. And we're going to pour that out in a minute. And then we're going to build this in a Boston style shaker bottom there, and we're going to put, I don't know, maybe 10 cubes of ice, or fill it about halfway. And then we're going to use, for this cocktail, some gin. We have Hendrick's here tonight. We're going to use 1 ounce of gin. Sorry, 1.5 ounces of gin. We're going to use 1 ounce of Aperol. Aperol is very often used in a spritz cocktail.
So this is that bitter orange liqueur from Italy, so you'll probably know it from the summertime spritzes.
And then I've made some blood orange simple syrup. So this is just actually blood orange juice that's been squeezed fresh. And then I made some simple syrup. And then I've combined those. I actually strained off the pulp and the seeds. And I'm going to use about, let's see, what did I say on my recipe? I'm going to use 1 ounce of that as well. And then we're just going to put in a little orange bitters, a few dashes. All right. I have a stirring spoon here, and all you want to do is get that chilled and dilute it a little bit by stirring for about 30 seconds to a minute. I'll go ahead and dump my ice, and the glass is nice and cold. That's why I'm doing that. And then I'm going to strain that into the chilled soup. Strain it over here. Put a clamp strainer tight on there. These are some really nice coupes I've got. If you're from Atlanta, you might know the place City Issue that sells amazing antique glasses. Shout out to them. And then I have some Prosecco. And all I'm going to do is just top it lightly with Prosecco. I know that Phil is stepping up over here because this is his style of drink. Not only does he love spritzes, but he also loves Aperol and most especially blood oranges.
Can you explain to us what these are?
So these are some blood oranges that I dehydrated. So I just sliced them very thin and put them in a dehydrator overnight, and they've become this nice kind of almost window pane type orange. And I'm just going to float that on top. It's going to be very pretty. Phil, I know you like these. He's over there waving. There you are.
Pick me.
You have to be careful. So that is a blood orange spritz cocktail.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I'm going to make some more for everybody. I've actually made pre-batch some here. And then we're going to give a toast. So, and just continue the party. This again, you can find this on the foodsociety.community. So as we continue to have fun and have a toast, thank you all for coming in and joining me tonight. This is really exciting for us, and there's going to be a lot more to come. So let me get on to those cocktails. Yay.
I'm so excited to try this blood orange. Blood oranges are like my favorite citrus in the universe. It's like raspberries and tart and tangy and sweet all at once. Yeah, let's do the help here. I'll grab some of these glasses and bring them over with you.
Oh, thank you. And again, we're just going to add a little ice cube in. And there's just all kinds of spritzes you can do. The idea of a spritz is always going to be bubbly of some sort. It can be just mineral water, but often it's going to be prosecco, cava, sparkling wine, or champagne. And then it's always going to have some type of Italian bitters, like this Aperol here. And then it can usually have some type of fruit juice or other fruits garnishes. Like I said, I pre-batched some here, and the way you do that instead is just you just add the gin, just like we did before, the gin, the blood orange, and the Aperol, and just bigger portions. You just stir that.
And then you still do the prosecco as the very last touch.
And then you just add the prosecco at the end and garnish. That's it. This way you can just do if you want. So this way it's called pre-batching. If you want to make several drinks at once. Or you can just make the one I showed you. The recipe online is for one, and then you can just multiply for what you think is best. So if you could start taking the ice out.
Absolutely.
And you'll notice, Chrissy, that a lot of people think you have to put water in the glass with that, but fill the glass.
It is. Chilly, chilly, chilly.
And
No,
then
this
find
is
out that all you need is a little ice.
just a little ice and it's good to go.
Right, so move this to the side.
You don't need to freeze your glasses.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I always did a lot more work like that too in them, and I didn't realize until later that you don't have to do that much. So. All right, anybody want to step up for some more?
I'm going to volunteer.
All right.
This is my favorite citrus in the world. Just clear out your space here.
Thank you. See how many I can get out of this one. And I still have the top with the champagne. If you want to, Chris, you can just.
Sure. I will start going around and doing that splash of prosecco or champagne in here.
All right, and then I'll add the garnish.
And then we add in the dehydrated sliver of blood orange on top. If you don't have a dehydrator, can you make those oranges in your oven on a really low temperature?
You could on a very low temperature overnight. It's the same way, but the dehydrator does work a little better, I found. But there's no reason why you couldn't try that. It's just a faster way of doing it.
In addition to being tasty, one of the nicest things about the mix of Aperol and blood orange here is this gorgeous ruby color. You get this,
It is nice.
this like brilliant red that tastes not quite like a regular orange. You get a little fruitiness and sweetness and tang to it.
All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of these so far. You want one? Who else wants one?
See,
You?
Patrick is volunteering.
Patrick, I don't know if he's there. Anybody else? No? Oh, yeah, I thought you would. I'm going to have one. But regardless, whatever you drink, you have in your hand. Let's all get to come together real quick. And quickly, with our mask on, just cheers to this new beginning. This is an exciting thing and a new adventure, like you said, and I'm really looking forward to what happens with this. So please, and thank you for everybody who's come to join us tonight. I know I've never gotten to say this in my life, but hi, Mom. I know she's out there watching and very excited, and my dad as well, of course. So we'll just hold up the glass. We won't actually take a sip, and we'll go outside and have a drink. So,
Thank you, everybody. If you have any friends who are chefs or foodies and they need a place to call home online and want to join the Food Society, our #1 priority is adding to the number of chefs and the number of talented people in the food business that want to share what they're doing and share their content through the Food Society community. So that's our first priority, is to make sure we have more voices, more representation, more content. So there's a lot to come. And on a personal note, enormous thanks to Walker and Chris for asking me to sit and dream with them and be a part of getting to today. And cheers to you all for joining us. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
All right,